can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
No, victim mindset.
I didn't see any of that.
Oh, really?
I saw none of it. It just said something like your browser's not playing the clip. And I was just like, well, that's interesting.
Well, it was. I don't know. Well, again, everybody check in. Did you guys see? Well, today is interesting. Teri sent me this. Things I'm leaving in 2024.
Yep. And I have to give credit where credit is due while I eat a piece of pumpkin spice clusters. That's not where I'm giving credit to.
I'm doing my Equate protein shake. So
there we go. Lisa sent me that, and we're going to be talking about that in our next Monday night women's gathering group at the end of this month.
Tell people what that is, the people that don't know that would like to be a part of it.
Well, if you are a woman of a certain age, we'll say perimenopause, menopause, I do a free online Zoom hour meeting from 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time once a month, the last Monday of the month. And it's just where women can get together and talk about the stuff that's just kind of going on in life, whether it's, aging issues or concerns or, we're not doctors, so we don't prescribe or diagnose or anything, but we talk about, the things that happen as we age and, as your kids leave the house and as you're getting ready for retirement and all of the things that society and culturally we don't really talk about because we shun those things away. I just facilitate an open platform for women to be able to share whatever that is. So we've had conversations around aging parents, around sneezing and peeing on yourself, around dry skin, around divorces, around being divorced at 60. I mean, lots of really good conversations.
Yeah, well, Elizabeth says it's a fantastic group of women, and she's part of that group. Michelle says, hi, ladies. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. We're on YouTube today as well. And LinkedIn, I don't know where you're watching. Maybe put a note in the comments. But some of the things on the list, things that you're leaving in 2024. Fixing what I didn't break. Disregarding my intuition. Carrying uneven relationships. Showing up where I'm not valued. Apologizing for healthy boundaries. That's a good list of stuff to leave.
It is a good list.
Anytime.
How do you want to tackle that? You want to tackle a little bit one at a time?
Yeah, let's talk about fixing what I didn't break, because I really liked that.
Okay.
Because I'm a fixer. I've always been that person, and that's been an ism for me, is just trying to go in and fix people.
Right. And that's because, well, I won't say that's because, but a lot of people get that characteristic or that trait because when they're younger, they start trying to fix things around them so that everyone is okay, right? But we don't recognize at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15 years old, we really don't hold the keys to the fixing much of anything. Yeah. But our identity can become that we want to fix. So going into 2025, what is it that being willing to look at the things that you no longer want to take responsibility for fixing that aren't yours. Like when you have friends that, say you've got issues with friends and you're like, well, I just got to make this right. I've got to make this right. And, you've got that one friend or family member that you're like, oh, if they would just listen to me, this would just be, I could help them with this. Understanding that everyone has the grace and the emotional altitude to take care of themselves at the place that they're at. Mm-hmm. And so it's okay to say, you know what, that's not mine to fix. If someone needs help and they are dedicated and decisive about helping themselves, then absolutely jump on that wagon and support them to the best of your ability, as long as you're taking care of yourself first, but letting go of the need to fix everything that's not yours to fix.
That child. You know, I think moms and dads of adult children, you see the train coming. They don't.
Right.
And it's so hard not to go and stand on. Here's the deal is the parents don't just take them off the train track. Parents try to take on the train.
Right.
And that's the thing. And I've watched it happen with friends of mine who are parents. I am not a parent, you know. I have the dog situation and the cat situation and the animal situation. I can't save them either from some of the things that they get themselves into. But I will say that people, if you have someone in your life that they're on the track, don't lay on the track in front of them so you get hit first. That's,
well, the
you don't
issue
stop
of jumping,
getting hurt by doing that.
the issue of jumping on the track for somebody or trying to fix somebody is that it's not, I mean, how presumptuous of us to think that we need to steal that opportunity of them for them to grow and for them to evolve. We, in our own need to look good, keep up our presentation of being the doer, the pleaser, the fixer, the helper, the giver, we actually are putting ourselves first instead of their need. Sometimes people need to fall and get a few bumps and bruises in life in order to learn how to navigate. We've all done that. The issue for a lot of people is that when we have fallen and when we have gotten the bumps and the bruises, we don't want anybody else to feel that. So we try to fix it for them.
Right.
We're stealing their opportunity for growth.
One of the things that I find too is that everybody wants to be a hero. Everybody kind of in your heart of hearts, we love that. And some people, it's a nice, healthy thing. And some people, they need to be the hero. They need to be the superhero. Hello, Melody. Melody Guy just joined us. And I think sometimes that hero complex, they call it, and they say it like it's a bad thing. I think everybody deserves to get to be a hero. But you find the places where you can be a hero where it deserves your time and your effort and where it doesn't take away from somebody else's chance, like you said, to learn and to grow.
Right.
There are places to volunteer. There are places, I mean, if you need some help finding out where to go volunteer, I will certainly give you a list of several places that need our help. And this time of year, there are multitudes of places where you can get that hero hole taken care of.
Right.
Without having to take on somebody that's in your life and say, I'm going to be your superhero.
Right.
You can be a superhero to somebody and not take away their stuff. Melody, I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're glad. And Michelle said she actually remembered, she goes, she's glad to remember the show, and she's in Gallatin at work. So glad to have you with us always. One of the things that it says on this list that I'm going from, that you said Lisa sent it?
Yes.
Disregarding my intuition. Oh, that's a good one. Because I think too, as we get older, I think that our spidey sense, our little voice, it becomes louder, and to disregard it, it takes a lot more effort.
Also understanding the difference between intuition and gut reaction. We as a society use those as interchangeable pretty quickly with one another. It was, oh, my gut tells me, but the reality of that is intuition doesn't come with a large like angst and I have to do, all of that. Like intuition is not that way. Gut is a reaction of the imprints, of the energetic imprints, of the experiences, the circumstances that we have had growing up. So gut is in our gut, right? So when we have a response to something, your intuition sort of floats in and goes, maybe you take the back road to work today instead of the interstate. And your intuition, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I'll take the back road instead of the interstate. There's not a lot of, intuition doesn't try to shock us. There's no shock value to it. Gut is, something's going to go wrong. I just know it. Oh my gosh. That's gut. That is a trauma response. That's your body going, I'm bracing for impact, even though there's not an impact. So,
well, for me, I've learned to kind of listen to both because I've had a tendency to disregard both to my own detriment. And sometimes my gut, just because my gut's coming from trauma response, sometimes it's not wrong when it warns me, hey, by the way, you're about to do the same damn thing again that you did the last time.
right.
That part is the part of the trauma response that I listen to because I have a tendency to repeat people.
Well, it's not so much about doing it wrong. It's just about the energy that people give it. Like people would be quick to say, well, my gut tells me they're having that affair, and then they start snooping and they start digging. And it's like, wait, what? Like, no, that's just a feeling you have because you're feeling insecure. If intuition goes, yeah, something's off here.
I had to learn not to disregard my own patterns. Yeah. I mean, because I had a Lexi, if you're watching, my producer one time looked at me, she said, you have a type. Yes. Mentally unstable, but very cute. Yes, I get it. I have a type, but and I say that in jest, but some of those things, it's like learning to pay attention to things we're supposed to pay attention to, I think is important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, our intuition will guide us to say, like say, for instance, I've got clients right now that are in the process, several of clients, well, several, that's an exaggeration. I've got at least 3 clients right now that are in the process of moving to new states. And it's real easy to say, well, my gut's telling me this is going to be hard. My gut feeling is this is going to be hard. And I'm like, well, that's not, like, what is that? Like discerning what your intuition is. Intuition, again, intuition is your higher self. Intuition doesn't come in to scare you or to traumatize you. Intuition comes in to go, let me listen to that. Yeah, I think I do want to start doing that. Or, I think I would prefer to do this, or maybe I'll weigh these options out about this job. Intuition does that. Gut, again, is the one that is more shock value for us. And that's only, again, they're interchangeable. People interchange them all the time. But if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, one is a literal part of your body, and the other is your higher self.
Gotcha.
They're not connected.
Yeah, I like that. I think that one of the things that I've decided not to take into 2024 is disregarding my first impression. That window when you meet someone and you get the 10-minute window into their soul, or 10-second window is more likely. When you first get that first, when humans come in contact with each other, the energy that everybody brings to the thing. I have had my first impression has never been wrong. Like not ever. But I've 99% of the time ignored it and said, you're being silly. So what I'm going to start, as my older self goes, pay attention to that first impression. Pay attention to it. You don't have to not be friends with someone. You don't have to not do business with someone. But be very careful and pay attention to those first impressions. Corinne just joined us. Hi, Corinne. Good to have you here. And I love you too, Melody. Elizabeth says, I definitely get strong vibes when I meet someone for the first time. I feel those inside deeply. Now, that's an important thing to pay attention to. It's just, what you do with it is your choice, but pay attention to those things. Don't ignore a first impression.
Well, also consider the situation that you are meeting someone for the first time. I have a lot of first impressions of clients when they come in. And if I were going to be judgy, which I'm not, but if I were going to be judgy, I think a lot of people got a lot of shit shaken out, right? But the reality is who they are in that moment when I'm meeting them, that is a part of who they are as a whole, but that's not who they are. So, I think back to one time when someone hit me, not physically, but in the car physically. I had stopped at a red light. They were not paying attention. They plowed into the back of me, and I got out. And my first impression would have been that they were frantic and probably, they were very standoffish. And I mean, my first impression was, God, they're kind of a jerk. Well, what I found out was they actually were trying to get to their daughter's house because she had just been diagnosed with cancer. So my first impression would have been wrong. They weren't a jerk. They just were going through something. Now that's different. That's different than when you have scheduled out time to meet someone or to talk to someone or a friend or something, and they're more rigid. Big difference. And I'm going to pause real quick and let my aunt's dog out to potty. She's a senior. She's 16 years old. And she's going to bark if I
No, that's okay. You go ahead. Go ahead. Elizabeth says it's part of learning to trust ourselves and what we know and sense. I just think in terms of, I think the thing that I always say, just pay attention to yourself. Just pay attention to what you feel, because your body reacts to people. I've watched, and I've watched people be, wrong about me. I've watched people be wrong about other people. But as a general rule, just mainly paying attention. Just paying attention. You guys, wherever you're watching from, we are on every week around this time, whether it is from our vault. And when it says a vault show, it means it's something that is pulled from a previous show and then we put it on. But today we're live. And so you can actually leave comments and they can be part of our show. I was just saying the difference between our vault shows and our live shows, because I have people all the time that say, I was like commenting and you weren't even saying that you even saw me. And I'm going, I know this is like adult romper room. We love to say your names. And we all like to be seen and noticed. Today, I would rather not be seen. I'm struggling with a little sickness and I cannot stop sneezing and I cannot stop coughing. It's nothing bad. It's just like, ugh. Anyway, Elizabeth is adding, I've got a pretty good radar and I've learned to trust it. I can usually sense that underneath a bad day, someone is a good person.
Yes. And that's a very nice thing to have. Unfortunately, we live in a world right now where people, we've lived in this world for a long time, where people are a little more judgy. And so they'll say, oh my God, did you see how she, me, or, oh, he just thinks he's blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, come on, people, now check yourself. What is it about us that's making us hyperextend our judgment about someone else? There's probably some insecurities, some shortcomings, some whatever's.
I like this one. Not carrying this into 2024, carrying uneven relationships.
Absolutely. If you're emptying your cup into another person, and I'll carry it even further. Whether it's empty relationships, empty opportunities, dried up beds of hope and possibility, whatever you are pouring yourself into, if it is not reciprocating back in some way, you need to really assess what that is why are you doing that? What are you getting out of draining yourself in hopes that they will treat you different or that job will, somehow or another, if you have been the yes person all the time and now you're exhausted from work, what makes you think after telling everybody yes for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, that suddenly they're going to start really giving too many concerns about you being taken care of mentally, emotionally, physically, all of that.
That movie, that phrase in that movie, this is rom-com season for me. And I watched the movie all the way to the end. Teri's different than me. We both laugh about that. It's like she can stop midway through a movie and go, that's fine. I have to see how it ends. Well, you know that phrase, that movie, he's just not that into you.
Mm-hmm.
It's learning the realization of they're just not that into you.
And it's not personal.
No,
it's not personal. It's just,
you have some people on a level of something. They have you on a level of something, and they're uneven. They're just, that's all that is. It's just that Linda. Hey, Linda. And by the way, happy belated birthday to Linda. She just had a birthday. Hardest lesson for me to learn is when people show you who they are, believe them. That's true. And people, and that can be a bad thing, but it also can be a good thing when you're trying to get some, when you go, I just don't trust them. I don't trust. Okay, what have they done for you? Well, they've done this, and they've done this, and they're all good things. I go, maybe it works on the contrary, as well.
Absolutely. Excuse me. But there are people out there that'll say, well, they did this, and 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 all of these things are maybe less than positive for us. And then we turn around and go, but they're really a good person. I had someone tell me one time, but I just love them. And I said, okay, given everything you've just shared with me, exactly why do you love them? Because I always feel safe with them. I did a Chester Cheetos. I said, given everything you've just shared with me, you feel safe with them? And they had that like, oh crap. Okay. I see what you're saying. And I said, I'm not saying it. You're saying it. You're saying you feel safe, and they had that they realized that their mouth was just autopiloting words, and they weren't really thinking about them.
Right.
I agree. People will show you, maybe the first time they get a pass, the second or third time, you gotta really watch and see how people are showing up. And then you have to question your own integrity in that moment and say, if you recognize they're not showing up with a value that enriches your life, what is it about you what part about you makes that okay? And also, again, I go to the littles, check in with your littles and ask them how they like that. They're not going to like it because it feels too familiar, which is exactly the familiarity is why the adults do it.
Yep. Elizabeth says, I give my close friends grace every time. An acquaintance gets grace the first time, and then it's gone when behaviors get repeated. I have a tendency to, put people in categories. I had a friend that told me something about another friend that had harmed them emotionally. Mm-hmm. And some things that were totally out of character but I listened. And they said, I know this really upsets what you think of them as the sweet, angelic person that they are. And I said, no, back up. I never thought of them as an angel. And had you said they had done A, B, C, and D, I would have said, yeah, that's who they are. He said, but you still love them. And I said, yes, because I am not A, B, C, and D with them. I can love them and say, you're a person who's in a learning process. You're in a different part of your journey. I love you as God gives me the path to love you, but I'm not living with them. I'm not dating them. And I'm not going to start because I know who they are. You can love people in the category of who they are, and realize that they're, I think pufferfish are awesome, but I'm not going to eat that sushi that requires that dangerous thing that comes nose close to their liver. I'm not going to take that chance because pufferfish are nice. They're nice in an aquarium. They're nice. They're cute. They puff up and whatever, but I'm not going to get any closer contact than that to a pufferfish. you kind of have to get people in that category, in the category with what they are. I'm not in the, there are very few people in this world I've had to throw away. I've had to distance myself from, block, get rid of. But the people I have were people I couldn't even put in a category. I have to love them in a spirit way. I can't.
And I'm just the opposite on that. I don't think that we have to love people who treat us like shit. I don't think we have to love people who treat us like shit. I don't think we have to even give them grace. I believe that we can see someone for who they show up, and it's not about loving them, hating them. We're not loving or hating. We're just going, you know what? That person doesn't work for me, and I'm going to give myself distance from them. It's not about. I think a lot of times we fall under that thought of, well, we just have to love everybody. Well, there are people out there, if we're being completely transparent, there are people out there in this world who have been raped, beaten. They've had loved ones, harmed by other people that they either know or don't know. That's a far stretch to ask those people to love someone. They're not going to do it. And I say, you know what? You don't have to love them. You don't even have to forgive them. You can come to that place inside yourself where you are okay.
Yeah.
If you are okay and you're not harming yourself with thoughts of retaliation or ruminating on wounded things, they don't have to be in your life. And it is okay not to put them on I need to love them, because, people love pizza and you don't marry it. I think we put way too much emphasis on needing to love people that do not treat us well. And a lot of people find themselves in friendships where they haven't been treated well by these people, and they'll still say they love them because they're a good person in their heart. No, if they treat you like crap, they are not a good person in their heart. They're a shitty friend, and you don't have to be friends with them. Family members the same way, and I get a lot of slack from that because people will say, well, you're supposed to love your family members. If your family members are abusive, no, you don't actually have to. It's okay not to.
Let me open this one because we're holidays and stuff. What about addiction behavior and mental illness? When you've got those people in your family, how do you deal with that when someone has harmed you, but it was either under the influence or under the influence of those two things? How do you deal with that? You're muted again.
Riley's barking to let her in. You keep that going. I got to go get her real quick. She's 16 years old, so she can't be out real quick.
No, yeah, gotcha. My biggest question is, how do you deal with that? Have you ever had to deal with someone in your life, those people who are watching right now? How do you deal with loving someone in the situation that that's not them? In their case, if they are doing things in their addictive behavior, or if there's a mental illness involved, I've learned for me to not take on that illness as my illness. In other words, I can't do it for them. I can't make someone take their meds. I can't make someone get sober. I can't make someone change. And so often we get into relationships with the idea, if I love them enough, they will want to change. And loving someone.
No, they won't.
No,
they won't.
No. And, if people change, and they do change, and they can change. And I believe fully in that ability. But I don't think, and we can't go in there with the idea that we can do something so superhuman and so loving that it makes them want to be different. And that's just going into this home dynamic of the holidays. You're going to be faced with this. Elizabeth says, I think I can love someone and not like them very much. And continues, I hurt a lot of friends and loved ones before I got sober. I lost many of those friends permanently. Others knew it wasn't who I was at my core. They gave me grace with strong boundaries.
Mm-hmm. That works for some people. Other people, their offenses are harsher.
Yeah.
And there doesn't, and people are able to say, this doesn't work for me. You go away, you get yourself clean, you get yourself sober, you do your work, your personal work, you change how you show up. And yes, we can revisit that. But right now in this moment, when you're showing up this way, no, that doesn't work. Now, some people will go, it doesn't work for me, but I'm still going to let them do that. And then those people will turn around and talk to everybody else about how much they're doing and how much they love this person, how much they want this person to get better, and la, 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 la. But you have to look at the intention behind why you are accepting that behavior. Is it because you want people to go, oh, they're such a good person, they're such a good friend, they just take all these punches from this other person verbally or mentally or emotionally or physically sometimes, and I think that they're just such a good person, and they need help. Yes, they may need help, but the reality is if they are not ready for this help, and Elizabeth can speak to this, she's had her journey and she's been very open with that with all of us. So, when you're not ready for that help, it doesn't matter how much somebody tries to help. They can still say, you know what, I'm here for you, but I can't be in this with you right now. When you're ready, let me know, and I'm going to be right there with you in this walk. But right now, I can't do this with you. And it's okay to say that.
That's what Elizabeth says. That's exactly what the person I love the most in my life. He cut me off entirely until I got sober. It woke me up and made me realize how much I had to lose. For me, in my addiction, Elizabeth said so true. I had to work it out first. I had to work it. I had to want it first. For me, in my addiction, I need to be needed so much that I would do everything for the other significant other in my life. I would do everything, literally everything. Whatever that meant at that time, I wouldn't even, I wouldn't even let the ice rattle in the glass before I had something new set down. I was always waiting on the significant other hand and foot. And I learned my amends and my I'm sorry's had to be to me, because I had to find my value in myself and learn how to be not so codependent on that caretaking of someone. Caregiving is one thing. Caretaking is another.
Right. And I think that there's value in that, to recognize that, like, and to your point, what you just said, we have to be willing to look at why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reason we're doing it? And if the reason we're doing it is because, well, somebody has to do it, then it's like, no, you don't have to be that person to do it. Mm-hmm. And what you had asked, Devon, before I went to let Riley in was, what do you do if someone is over the holidays offends you and they have, they're in a addictive stage, or they've been drinking too much or whatever. There's accountability for that. There's removing yourself from the situation. And then there's having a very hard, transparent conversation when they are sober. Now, they may not remember what's happened. But we have to remember that the more we either, there's this thing that people think, well, if I walk away from this situation, then they're getting away with it. So I need to be here to remind them all the time how they've wronged me. Well, okay, if that's how you want to spend your life, then that's awesome, I guess. But the reality to that is, most people who have offended us in some way, shape, or form really don't give two rattlesnakes, whatever rattlesnakes have. I started to say knees, but whatever, rattlesnake rattles. They don't really, if they are intoxicated, or if they're not in their right mind when they do it, then one, they don't remember doing it most of the time. Secondly, if you continue to put yourself in that position, you got to look at that and go, why do I keep putting myself in this position? hard conversations have to be had sometimes. Now, if you get, just like, someone said earlier, they're showing you who they are. If in that hard conversation in a sober moment, it goes right back to, well, this is all your fault. You made me do this. That we all heard that, right? I only do this because you made me. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't think so. So that's the transparency, the hard conversations that have to come from that. And if they don't come from that, then people just perpetuate a cycle of unhealthiness. And that is a toxic pattern to get into. And that's a family of origin thing that happens often because it's a cyclical thing. They just people become uncomfortably comfortable with conflict. And then there's this underlining need for justification or to fix.
Right.
That is a toxic tango to get into.
Yep, been there. That's a dance I do not want to take into 2024. Well, we're getting to the end of the show, and there's two really good ones left on the list, and I want to continue this list next time. Can we do that?
Are we going to be in the? No, we're not in the new year. God, we're not even close to the new year just yet. Yes, we can continue it next time.
Because the next one's showing up where I'm not valued. That's a whole show in itself. Whole show in itself. And and I want to talk about that because there are things that we don't want to take into 2024. And I realize that seems like a new year show, but it's something that as we start coming down to the end of the year and start reflecting, let's take a look at some of these things. Michelle says, besides wanting to live in Tennessee, I needed to get away from a certain family member. I couldn't handle it anymore. And that happens. That happens a lot. And we're glad to have you in Tennessee, Michelle. We're glad that you're here and glad to see that you could make that decision for yourself. Well, we've come to the end of a broadcast day. How about that?
And look at us, both in Christmas colors and didn't even know it.
Yeah.
We matched our little thingy up there at the top.
Yep. We got it all going on. Corinne says, I'm going to Bruton, Alabama next week. Yay. Go say hi to my Golden friends. That's the Golden family. They're all from Bruton, Alabama. So every time I think about Bruton, Alabama, I just go, oh, that's my Goldens. I bet, Corinne, you're going to stop by that cemetery and go say hi to everybody. I am going to be going to Louisiana in not too long, and I'm getting to see Mama Pat and Faith, and we're already talking about chicken and dumplings and and dressing and what's the kind that you want, and do you want catfish while you're home? All that, the stuff that we do.
The stuff that you do.
Well, Teri, I'm going to turn it over to you to bring things to a close.
All righty. Well, I'm going to say this today, and then I'm also going to say it again next week. If we want to stop inviting certain energies to the table, we have to first be willing to stop setting a place setting for them. So we'll carry that into next week also. But as you go through the rest of this week and the weekend, look at your table, look at your place settings, and figure out which one of those really are not showing up in a way that supports your highest and best. Maybe that means you move them to the kiddie table. Maybe that means you put their ass outside on the curb. I don't know. I'm not you. But take time to just do those assessments and figure out what feels good to you in your head, in your heart, and in your soul. And also understand that you sometimes are going to have conflicting answers coming back from all of those three places. So yeah, that's it. That's what I got for today. And I will end this with what we say all the time. Have a great rest of your week. We will see you all next week. And until then, increase your peace.
Bye, everybody.